Well, good morning. This is Miss Martin from her kitchen, welcoming you to my kitchen because I wanted to introduce a special friend to you this morning. This special friend he came out of my pantry, and he has a special job today. It's Mr. Potato Head. He came to visit you today out of my pantry because today you're going to read a story about his ancestors. Okay, his ancestors who came. I mean, have you ever wondered about the history of the potato, have you ever wondered where they came from? Probably not. I never did. But this article is a nonfiction article that tells about where potatoes came from. And I started thinking about it. I don't really know any potato farmers. Do we grow potatoes in Alabama? I don't know. So this is a very interesting article to me about the history and where potatoes actually came from. So we're going to use what we used yesterday, what we introduced yesterday, using this word. Do you remember that word? Can you say that word? Infer. You remember inferring? Do you remember we talked about that yesterday? We introduced it from the reading journal from page 81, from 80 and 81. And we talked about, the kid with the fire in his head, and we made inferences. So we can either infer as readers or we can make inferences. This is probably one of the hardest things that you will do as a reader because the author doesn't always just give you all the answers. You have to use some stuff. You have to use a couple of things to make sense of the passage. You have to use two things. Two things. Do you remember what they were? Think about them really hard. I'm giving you a clue. I'm giving you a clue right now. Can you remember what two things? One thing is, you got it. You use what's in your head already. Your background knowledge. We might call that schema. You use your background knowledge. And then you also use the clues from the text to make sense of the passage. It's really hard when you're reading and the author doesn't come right out and tell you that. So you're going to read an article today called The Travels of the Potato. So if you will go ahead and turn to page 82. Page 82. You got a really cool map there on page 82. I want you to think about that. Why would you have a map in a nonfiction text? Think about that a few minutes. Then I want you to look at 83 because on 83 you actually have a graphic organizer that helps you infer. And the video below this video will show you what inferences I made. So hopefully we'll be on the same page when we finish this work. So you're going to read an article independently, and you're probably going to run across some words that you don't know. Maybe you're unfamiliar. Maybe you can even read the word, but you don't really know what it means. So you remember, as good readers, we don't just, fly over those words. We have to stop and think about those words. And we always code the text. We've been doing that for a long time. So circle the word, put a check, highlight, whatever it makes you happy. Just know that you're not going to fly over these words. You're going to think about them. And you're going to try to make sense of those words based on the context, the clues around. That's also inferring. That's inferring at word level. So we got to do those two things. You got to infer at word level, and then we're going to infer at the text level because you're going to make some inferences based on the schema, your background knowledge, what you already know, and then the clues that the author gives you. Okay, and then on this Padlet, you have a place to put the words that you've struggled with, or maybe you read it and you just don't know what it means. You're going to put those there, and you also have 3 questions to answer. And then you're going to go on to page 83, and you're going to do your best to fill in that graphic organizer. Now, the video below is intended for you to use after you've done all the work. Please don't go and use the video to answer your questions in the graphic organizer. That's not going to help you, okay? So, make sure you've done that, and then work on your graphic organizer. Also, before we go, let's look at the close reader habits at the end because I always forget that part. So if you're on page 82, let's just read that together. Think about key details in the passage that help make inferences, that help you make inferences. Then underline key details that describe the events that brought the potato to Europe. Okay? So that's going to help you make inferences. You're looking for the details. You're looking for the clues that the author gives you from the text. And then you're using what you already know to make sense of the passage. Okay? So, you ready to work? Okay, so Mr. Potato Head says, do your best work. Do your best work. We'll be checking on you. See y'all.